Shalom, peace. It's Brother Gabar. This is Intelligent Hebrew. Let's get right to it. Today's lesson is what not keeping the first great commandment looks like. What it looks like to not keep the first great commandment. And we're going into that because sometimes we don't realize that we're not doing that we're not loving God with our heart, with our soul, or our spirit, or our mind. Let's get that. Hold on, y'all. I didn't turn my ringer off. I'm trying not to have people hitting me up while we doing this, right? Okay, you guys, let's go to the book of Matthew. Let's go to chapter 23. The book of Matthew, chapter 23. Y'all know me. This is one of my favorites. Book of Matthew, chapter 23. And we're going to start at, 22 and 37. No, we got to start. We got to get the background on it. 22 and 35. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 35. Then one of them asked, which was a lawyer. So he was someone who was very well versed in the laws and the commandments, right? He says, then one of them asked, who was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? So of all the laws, of all the commandments, which one is the greatest one? Look what he says. Yahushua, Jesus, said unto him, thou shalt love Yahweh, the Lord, thy God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. So right there, when asked what's the greatest commandment, he said to love the Most High God with what? With all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, right? Let's precept that real quick. Let's go to Deuteronomy 6. Verse 5. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, and verse 5. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee, so these commandments shall be in your heart. So it has to be in your heart, right? So understand, it's going to be in your heart and in your mind and in your soul, the commandments. And then he said, well, Christ explained that to love the Lord our God with all our heart and with all our soul and with all our mind is the first and greatest commandment. So to love him with our everything, that's the great commandment. And us keeping that would mean what though? What does that mean? Let's go to John chapter 14, verse 15. Y'all know me, man. I'm pretty easy to discern because I just try to keep things really simple. I know some of y'all may want teachers that are really in depth and go deep and try to explain a bunch of stuff and have 1,000 precepts. And that for some people, that's really good. I know that for me, I think that things given simple and plain inspire us to go deeper into it. So I pray that I'm giving what's needed. I pray that the Most High is using me. I pray that his word comes out and not my own. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 14, verse 15. The book of John, chapter 14, is the Gospel of John. Okay, I guess some of y'all might say Saint John. I know I've been dealing with some people, and they, if I say the Gospel of John, they're not sure. If I say Saint John, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So, the Gospel of John and Saint John, they're the same book. So we're going to John, chapter 14, verse 15, and it reads as thus: If you love me, keep my commandments. So this is in red letters. And so this is when you see Yahushua HaMashiach or Jesus Christ. This is when you see him telling you that if you love him, okay, then you keep the commandments, right? Let's get it again. John 14, verse 15. If you love me, keep my commandments. Drop down. Watch this. Stay in John chapter 14, but let's just remember what he said, and let's drop down to verse 21. So this is John chapter 14, verse 21. He says, he that has my commandment and keep them, he loves me. So he it is that love me. So if you have his commandment and you keep his commandment, then you love Christ. Right? He it is that love me. And he that love me shall be loved of my Father. So if you have the commandments and you keep the commandments, then you love Christ. But then if you love Christ by keeping his commandments, then the Father will love you. Watch. And he that has my commandments and keep them, he it is that love me. And he that love me shall be loved of my Father. Boom. And I will love him. So the Most High God will love you if you keep the commandments. And and Christ will love you if you keep the commandments. Because if you love him, then you'll keep his commandments, right? So they're just loving you back. And will manifest myself to him. So when you manifest yourself, you make something known. You make something seen or understood. You make something materialize, right? Manifest. So you'll know and understand Christ more if you keep the commandments. You'll know Christ if you keep the commandments. You'll be able to see him in the book. You'll see his words. You'll see what he's saying if you keep the commandments, right? Let's drop down. Staying in John 14. Let's drop down again. Let's go to verse 23. And let's look what it says. It says, Yahushua Jesus answered and said unto him, if a man love me, he will keep my words. Notice he's almost saying the same thing that he just said in verse 21, right? If a man love me, you'll keep my words. 21, he says, if he that have my commandments and keep them, he it is that love me. So they're saying the same thing. And my Father will love him. See that? And we, Christ and the Father, will come unto him and make our abode with him. An abode is a house or a home or a place where you live or stay, right? So they're saying if you keep the commandments, that they'll love you and come live amongst you. They'll live with you. They'll live within you, right? The scripture tells us that we are the temple of God. If we are the temple of God, then that's where God would live. And so he's saying if we keep his commandments, then he'll come live with us. That he'll love us back. He'll love us as well. But we have to keep the commandments because keeping the commandments is a sign of you loving him, right? Remember John 14, 15. If you love me, keep my commandment. Boom. Excuse me. Excuse me, guys. Okay. Let's go to 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. I'm sure some of you guys already knew that's where we were going. All praises if you did. And if you didn't, all praises, because now you can lock that in and know that that's going to go with how we know if we love the Most High. Look what it says. This is the book of 1 John, not the Gospel of John, not St. John. 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. For this is the love of Yahweh, God. So this is how you love him. Because you can't hug God. You can't buy the Most High a Father's Day card. So how do you show your love to the Most High? Your obedience. That's what he wants, right? He says, for this is the love of Yahweh, God, that we keep his commandments. See that? We got to keep the commandments, and that's how we show him that we love him. A lot of people say, well, none of us can keep the commandments. We're not perfect. The Most High didn't say be. Well, actually, he does say perfect, be perfect. But when he's saying be perfect, you know what he's saying? Keep the commandments. And actually, I'm going to get into that in a different lesson. But he's saying here that if you love him, then you got to keep his commandment. That is how you love him. That is a sign that you love him. But this is the love of God, that we keep his commandment. And so it's not just that you keep the commandment, it's something a little bit more to it. He says, and his commandments are not grievous. Let's look up the word grievous real quick. I know some of us may know that, feel like we know what it means, and to some degree and extent, we I'm sure we do. But let's look it up so we can have a thorough understanding of what we're saying right here. Because look, grievous, serious. See, I don't know that a lot of us didn't think that word, serious or severe, grave or bad. A lot of us did think that word. Critical, see, dreadful, terrible, awful, painful, agonizing, hurtful, afflicting, wounding, damaging, injurious. Y'all know what I'm trying to say, right? Disastrous, crushing, traumatic, distressing, sorrowful, mournful, sad, heinous, gross, appalling, deplorable, dire, outrageous, lamentable, flagrant, shameful, right? We shouldn't see his commandments as awful or terrible or dreadful. We shouldn't see them as bad. We shouldn't see them as serious or severe. It should be a pleasant, excuse me, it should be a pleasant thing for us to keep his commandment, to love our brother and to love him. It should be a positive thing. It should be a wonderful thing, right? But instead, we see it as what? Serious or severe. We see it as what? Grave, bad, or critical, dreadful, terrible. We see it as what? Painful, afflicting, right? We see hurtful. We see it as we don't see it as a positive. So he says, "For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandment, and his commandments are not painful, that his commandments are not awful or critical, that they're not too severe, that they're not grave, that his commandment is not afflicting or agonizing or hurtful." We have to, when we see the commandments like that, that's a problem. You're not loving him with your, that's when it means when you're not loving him with your heart. Guess what? When it's talking about loving him with your heart, it's talking about how we feel about the Father and doing his work and doing his will and keeping his commandments. How you feel, right? And then we have to go into this because he says what? Let's go back to it real quick. Let's go back to Matthew 22. Man, I did not mean for it to go like this, you guys. Go back to Matthew 22. Let's go to verse 37 again, right? He says, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart." So we just touched heart. It shouldn't be grievous. It shouldn't be hurtful to us. It should be a joy to us to love the Most High with all our heart, mind, soul, spirit, right? It should be a joy for us to love our brother as we love ourselves. He said, with all our heart, and what? And with all thy soul, and with what? And with all thy mind. You know how you do that? You got to learn his words. You got to study his words, study his scriptures, study his commandment, not religion. I know a lot of people know that I'm in the truth, or they say I'm you study with the Hebrew Israelites, the black Hebrew Israelites. Man, I study the commandments of the Most High God. If no Israelite ever claimed to know me, if no Israelite camp denies all affiliation with me, the commandments of God is really what it's all about. Just walking the commandment, walking in his laws, looking to him for your answers, not to your religion. Looking to the Father for your answer, right? That would be loving him with all your mind, right? So remember, we just read that if we love him, we would keep his commandment. That his commandment, that we should that his commandment should not be grievous to him, right? Let's let's stay in First John. Let's go to First John chapter 2, and we're going to go to verse 3. First John chapter 2, verse 3. This is the book of First John chapter 2, verse 3. And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. And he that saith, I know him, and keep not his commandments. See, look at this. This is how we know him. This is how you know him. If you keep his commandments. You see that? Very first verse we read. 1 John chapter 2, verse 3. And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. And he that saith, I know him, and keep not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So this should be easy to understand, man. We need to be keeping the commandments, because if you claim you know the Father and you're not keeping the commandments, you're a liar. If you claim you love the Father and you're not keeping the commandments, you're a liar. If you claim you love Christ and you're not keeping the commandments, you're a liar. I'm not saying this. This is what the scripture is saying. What's the commandment? Don't have no other God before the Most High. No idols. Don't take his name in vain. These are easy things. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Now, of course, we understand that we're in captivity. And so we got the scripture say that because we're in captivity, we have to render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, right? Which means we got to pay our taxes. And if our job says that we can't take the Sabbath day off, then we got to go to work. But if we can, then we should take the Sabbath day off. We should take that day off because the Father is saying that's a day to rest and be with him, study his word, and praise him, and rest with him, right? Can't stress the rest. But if you go to Exodus 20 so you can see the 10 commandments, and it explains it to you. But he's saying that if you do not keep the commandments, you don't know him, and that you are a liar, right? Look what it says. But whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is what? The love of God perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him. So we got to keep the commandments, because if you keep the commandments, then what? But whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is the love of God perfected. That's how the love of God is perfected, by you keeping his commandments. This is how you love God. This is how you'll be showing the love of God, by keeping his commandments. Because the love of God requires us to what? To love him with all our heart, with all our mind, and with all our soul. But what else does it require? The second greatest commandment is to love our brethren as we love ourselves, right? Which would lead us to the 10 commandments, of course. But let's read on. Verse 6, he that saith he abide in him. So if you say you love God and he lives in you, and you're a follower, you're a disciple, you're an apostle, all these different titles, right? If all these proclamations, all these claims that you love God and that he's your everything, all of that's great. But remember, he said, if you don't keep the commandments, then you're a liar. You don't even know him, right? But he's saying that he that say he abide in him ought himself also so to walk even as he walked. So if you're going to say you love Christ, or if you're going to say you love the Father, then you have to walk the same way Christ walked. Why? Because Christ kept the commandments. He was an example of how we're supposed to live and walk in these commandments and these laws, with faith and providing grace for our brother, right? Because he's our brother. Let's move on. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1. We're going to go to verse 6. We have to love the Father. That's keeping the commandments. And keeping the commandments directly shows our obedience, and keeping the command directly shows our love for the Father, right? It's just like when you get married, one of the wedding vows is what? To obey, to honor and obey, right? Well, we're supposed to honor and obey the Most High God. Love, and our love for the Father, we're supposed to honor, most definitely, and we do that. Oh, I love God, praise God, hallelujah, and all of that, right? But it says that to obey, right? And we have to get that. You know what? Let's get that real quick. Let's go to 1 Samuel. I believe it is. I believe it is 1 Samuel. Give me a second, y'all. Yes, it is. 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 22. This wasn't written down, but keeps coming up, and it's obvious. It's important to the lesson, right? Because the Most High doesn't want us to do anything else but to just be obedient to Him. That is us showing our love, and then us showing our love and our obedience. That's showing our love to Him. But in our obedience, that will also be us showing love to our brother, because the second commandment is to love our brother as ourselves. And if we love our brother as we love ourselves, then we won't what? We'll honor our parents. We won't commit murder. We won't commit adultery. We won't bear false witness, right? If we love God, we'll keep His Sabbath day. We won't put another God over Him. We won't have any idols, right? We won't take His name in vain. But let's get that. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. And Samuel said, hath Yahweh as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahweh, the Lord? So understand the question is being posed. He's saying, would I rather you, let's just look at it like this. He's saying, would I rather you give me offerings? You know how you go to church and you pay offerings and tithes, right? He's saying, no, I don't want your offering and your tithes. That's what he's saying. Look, has the Lord as great delight? He's comparing it. He's comparing. Do he have as much delight in burnt offerings as in obeying the voice? So he's saying, would he rather you give offering, or would he rather you obey his voice? Right? That's the question being posed, right? You see a question mark there. Look, he says, behold, so look or pay attention. To obey, so to be obedient or obey the Most High's law, to obey His commandments, to obey His word is what? Look, it is better than sacrifice, meaning it's better than offerings. And to hearken, meaning to listen, is better than the fat of rams. He's saying it's better than the most expensive or the biggest amount that you can give. Just be obedient and just listen to what He's telling you. Just hear what He's telling you to do. Hear and obey. That's what He's telling you. But look at this. He says, for rebellion, when you rebel against what His word is as the sin of witchcraft. It's like witchcraft when you disobey His word. And stubbornness, you hearing His word, you acknowledging that's His word, but you still gonna be stubborn about it, is as the iniquity of idolatry. It's like you breaking the second commandment of the 10 Commandments, idolatry, right? Because thou hast rejected the word of the Most High God, He has also rejected thee from being king. And we already know that the Most High God, according to I believe it's 1 Peter, and according to the book of Exodus, chapter 19, we're supposed to be a nation of kings. We're supposed to be a nation of kings and priests, and this is why we currently have this. We're currently in the state of where we're at now. Our status on earth, no matter where we're at, in the Western Hemisphere, the Eastern Hemisphere, the North and the South, whether you're rich or poor, as a nation of people, not individuals, as a nation of people, we're not in our rightful status. We're not respected. We're not honored. We're not. We're citizens everywhere we go, and we're second-class citizens at that, to be honest. But I'm not getting into that. But he's saying this is why we've been rejected, because we're rebelling against His commandment. We're not obeying His command. We're not hearing and obeying, right? That's what we read in 1 Samuel. In 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. Now, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 6. Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 6. Wait. Is that what I want? You know what? No, I don't want that one. That's a lot of reading. I don't want to go through that. Let's go to Ezekiel 22 and verse 8. Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 8. And it reads as thus: Thou hast despised my holy things and hast profaned my Sabbaths. So when you deal with loving the Most High God and being obedient to His word and His commandment, right? Let's go to Exodus 20. And let's put a bookmark there because we're gonna hit some things real quick. Let's go to Exodus 20. Let's get it. Look what the first few words you see who's speaking here. And so you know that these are his words. These are not the words of Moses. These are God's words. He said this, right? Watch. And God, Yahweh, God spake all these words, saying. So the Most High God spoke these words. Look what he says. I am Yahweh, your God. So anytime you see the word Lord and it's in all caps, that's where the Hebrew name of God, Yahweh, is. You'll see Lord a lot of times in the Bible, but you're going to see it. You're going to see where it's all caps, or you're going to see where it's a capital L and then lowercase O-R-D. That's not the Most High's name. All caps L-O-R-D is the Most High's name, Yahweh, right? I am Yahweh, your God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So if you're familiar with the story of Moses, he brought the children of Israel, us, you so-called black people scattered to the four corners of the earth because of the transatlantic Arab and Indian slave trade. You are the Jews of the Bible. But going into it, if you're familiar with that story, he led us out of Egypt, right? So this is so he's just stating his claim, making you remember. And then he says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. No other gods. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Remember, we just said where he says, rebellion and stubbornness is like the sin of idolatry. So this is what this is going into. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. An image is an idol, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh, your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation, and for a generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto the thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless to take his name in vain. This goes right to what we're talking about, though. He says 6 days I work. Remember the Sabbath day is what he says. Remember how labor you are, but day is the Sabbath of Yahweh your God. It is the day. It is his day. His name is right there. It's the Sabbath of Yahweh. Remember, Lord, all caps is where his name is. So when you observe the Sabbath, you're observing the Sabbath of the God who created it all. Right? Look. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger. So not even your animals, your servants, no one could work. Why? For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and the sea, and all that in them is, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it, meaning he set it aside and made it special unto him. If we're not keeping his Sabbath day, well, whose day are we keeping? He said, this is what we're supposed, this is in the 10 commandments. This is what he said. He's telling us, don't skip over my Sabbath. It's important, right? Let's watch this. Let's stay in Exodus. Let's go over a couple of chapters. Go to Exodus chapter 31. Exodus chapter 31. And let's go to verse 12. Look who's speaking here. He says, and Yahweh, the Lord, spake unto Moses, saying, so look what the Most High again, it's him speaking. He says, spake unto the Lord, saying, spake unto Moses, saying, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily, my Sabbath, verily means surely. Verily, my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh that does sanctify you. Do you see this? Drop down to verse 17. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel. You so-called black people scattered to the four corners of the earth because of the transatlantic Arab and Indian slave trade. You are the true Jews of the Bible. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, pay attention to this, y'all, 2 tables of stone, two tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God. He wrote these words. These are his words. These are his commandments. He's saying, my Sabbath day is a sign between me and you, so that you can know who you worship, to show you that you can know that if you keep this right here, so that you can know that if you keep his Sabbath, that's your sign that you're keeping, that you follow this God right here. That's Sunday Sabbath. That's not God's Sabbath day. That's the day of the sun. It's called Sunday. It's a reason for that. The Sabbath, which is Saturday, it's the 7th day of the week. Look on your calendar. If you're an Israelite that doesn't keep the Saturday Sabbath, that's a different conversation which we can have. I'm not opposed to you doing that. That's your business. Understand that the 7th day Sabbath, not Sunday, okay? Not Sunday. 7th day Sabbath is a sign between you and him. So now let's go back to Ezekiel 22 and verse 8. And where's the first thing he said that we did? Thou hast despised my holy thing and hast profaned my Sabbath. We don't want to keep the Sabbath. We despise the Sabbath. That's why he said, what do you say? You despise my holy things, the holy Sabbath, right? And has profaned my Sabbath. Let's drop to verse 26. Her priest. So the pastors, the preachers, the priests, the ministers, all these spiritual leaders, right, have violated my law. You see that? This is how we love God, by keeping his Sabbath, by keeping his law, being obedient, right? He says, her priests have violated my law. How did they violate the law? By saying that we don't have to keep his commandments anymore. By telling us we don't have to keep his laws. They have fooled the whole world into believing that his holy days don't matter. His Sabbath day, his Passover, unleavened bread, feast of tabernacles, the Day of Atonement. He fooled us into believing that those things are only for these people. He fooled us into believing that those things are done away with, that they have been nailed to the cross. Well, Christ never said that. Matthew chapter 5, he says, don't even put it in your mind. Don't even think it, that he came to do away with the law. Matthew chapter 5, y'all look it up, right? But look what he says. Her priests, the preachers, the ministers, the priests, have violated my law by telling us that we don't have to keep his law, right? And have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and profane, right? So this is why we don't know what God really accepts. When the Most High God said, don't eat these things. These are unclean. This is profane to me. I don't want to deal with it. Profane me like profanity, right? It's dirty. Profanity is dirty language or unclean language, unacceptable language, right? So he's saying profane things. So when we eat profane things, shrimp, crab, lobster, pork, so on and so forth, right? Duck and stuff, stuff like that. Turtle and snake, alligator, we're not supposed to eat those things. God said don't eat that, because that's what he doesn't accept. It's not about us. It's about us loving him and being obedient and hearing him, right? So he doesn't accept that. So he said, what they have said, the priests have taught they have violated the law by teaching the people that the law is done away with, and have profaned my holy things, the holy days. We don't keep his holy days, his holidays in Leviticus 23. We don't keep the Sabbath, which is every Saturday, Friday evening to Saturday evening, right? Neither have they showed the difference between the unclean, between the unclean and the clean, meaning the things that we eat, right? Because when you go to church, what do you have? You have a fish fry, it's usually catfish. You have breakfast, it's usually pork sausage, right? Between the unclean and the clean, and have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths, and I am profaned among them. Like, it's to us, when we hear the Most High's word, when we hear his commandments, when we hear his laws, it's profane. It's profanity to us. We don't want to hear that. We okay with hearing the preacher, man, but we don't want to hear the truth about it. We don't want to hear the scriptures. We don't want to hear his commandment about the Sabbath or about eating clean or his holiday. We don't want to hear that. It's profane to us, right? It's sad to us. It's grievous to us. It's irritable to us. Remember, we read in 1 John chapter 5, verse 3, where he was saying that his commandments should not be grievous unto us. Remember, we just read in 1 Samuel chapter 15, where he said that obedience is preferred over our obedience to his commandments and his word and his laws is preferred over our offerings. It's not what he wants. He just wants us to obey and hear him, right? Let's stay in Ezekiel. We're going to go over a chapter. Let's go to chapter 23. We want to get verse 38. Ezekiel chapter 23 and verse 38. He says, moreover, this they have done unto me. So you see how the Father feel? This is how he feel, like we doing this to him by not keeping his word, by not keeping his Sabbath, by not keeping his holy days, by eating whatever we want, by doing whatever we want to do. Moreover, this they have done unto me. They have defiled my sanctuary in the same day and have profaned my Sabbath. Let's let's go to Romans chapter 1, the book of Romans chapter 1. We're going to go to verse 22. Book of Romans chapter 1 and verse 22. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of God, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and creeping things. So look at what is going on here. The Most High is in these different religions. What they have these statutes of what God looks like, or in certain customs or cultures, certain sacred animals, are considered gods. And the Most High is saying that because we claim that we know, that we have the wisdom, right? Professing ourselves to be wise, we became fools. And what did we do? We changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image like to corruptible man. What do you see right now? If I look up Jesus Christ right now, you're going to see a man who his name wasn't Jesus. The person that you see, that the white man the European man that you see is Jesus, has an actual name, Caesar Borgia. You can look him up. He's a historical person who was not Jesus. He lived way after, right? That's not Jesus. So when you say this is what we're looking up to. But not only that, this is when you deal with these different cults, man. Different cults are doing things, and you have these leaders who they're claiming themselves to be Christ, or they're claiming themselves to be God. Even in the Israelite community, I remember a while back they had a brother who was claiming himself to be the Holy Spirit, and a lot of people flocked to him, right? And what's going on? He says, professing themselves wise. You're not using the wisdom of the Most High when you do that. That's what it's going into. You're claiming yourself to be wise. When if we get your wisdom from the Father, then you're gonna say who's wise? The Father is wise. His word, his commandment is wisdom, right? Guess we gotta get that real quick. Sorry about that, y'all. Let's go to Psalm 110. Try not to keep y'all too long on, you know, get in and get out. Excuse me. Let's go to the 111th Psalm, the 111th Psalm, and let's go to the 10th verse. And look what he said. Psalm 111, verse 10. The fear of Yahweh, the Lord, is the beginning of wisdom. So just you fearing how he would feel if it would anger the Father, if it would bring his wrath or his judgment on you. Just wondering how it feels. When you read in the scriptures, you can see we're disappointed. Well, he disappointed in us about stuff. He upset with us. He hurt about us. He mad with us. You know, the fear of that. Look, watch. The fear of that. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding. Look, a good understanding. You want to have wisdom? You fear the Father. You want to have good understanding? What? A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endure forever. You see that? So if you want to have wisdom, you have to fear the Father. Fear the Father means you have to have that respect and that honor and that reverence for him. That, you know, you want to stay on his good side, that you want to please him, that you want to make him happy, right? And how do you make him happy? We already read in John 14, 15, 1 John 5 and 3, and 1 John chapter 2, that we got to keep his commandments, right? We already read where Christ said that loving him with all our heart, mind, soul, and body, and heart, mind, and soul that's the first and great commandment, to love him. And we read in Samuel where he said, man, I would just want y'all to obey my word. You ain't got to give me all the offerings. Just obey. Just hear what I'm telling you to do and obey. Right? We read in Ezekiel where he said, man, this is the issue, man. Look what y'all doing. Y'all not keeping my word. Your priests have violated my word. They ain't teach you what's unclean and what's clean. Y'all not keeping my Sabbath days. If y'all don't know that the holy days are like Sabbath days, we not keeping none of that, right? But instead, go back to Romans 1, verse 22, where you say, professing themselves to be wise. We just read where fearing the Most High is being wise. That's true wisdom, right? But when you profess yourself to be wise, what do? You become a fool. Why? Because you'll do something foolish like what? Change the glory of the uncorruptible God into the image of a man. We're corruptible. We're fallible. We make the mistakes. You know what else this can represent? This can also represent you. Instead of you going to see what the Most High's word is for yourself, you going to see what some other man say about it all the time. Now, I understand if you get into the scriptures and you don't understand what the scriptures really mean, so you need someone to break it down. That's one thing. But when you don't even go find out what the Father says, that's a different thing. And that's an error. That's a sin, right? Wherefore, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into the image made like to corruptible men and to birds and to four-footed beasts and creeping things. Let's go to 2 Timothy. I want to get in, I want to get some of this. I'm gonna go ahead and get it. Before we go to 2 Timothy, Stay in Romans 1. Let's get verse 24. Wherefore God also, stay in Romans chapter 1. Let's go to verse 24. Wherefore Yahweh, God, also gave them up to uncleanness. So because you wanted uncleanness, you can have uncleanness. But because you got uncleanness, just understand what comes along with it. This is why we have issues with obesity. We don't understand why I can't get rid of this back fat right here. Why I keep getting this flab right here. Why I can't get rid of this. Why my belly? Why I can't get rid of this right here. When you hold that bottom part of your belly, right? The fupa and all that other stuff. Why my legs? Or, you know, then we got these different diseases, fat with on the inside, right? That's clogging up arteries and stuff like that. All these different things. That's because you want to eat the unclean. Guess what? You want to do the unclean. This is why we got different sexual diseases, right? I'm not trying to get too far into it, but this is when he said, y'all want to unclean things. Remember, this is what it said in Ezekiel that we want to be profane. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the what? Lust of their own hearts. Lust does not always have to be sexual. Lust just means whatever you want, whatever you desire, right? And so through their through lust of their own heart. So this is what you don't want me, is what the Most High said. Obviously, you don't want me. So you want that? Go get it. But understand that when you worship that God, I'm not coming to save you. I'm not coming to help you. When you follow when you keep his holidays, I'm not coming to save you. I'm not coming to help you. You want to go to his church on that day, even though I told you about my holidays, I told you about my Sabbath day. You have my book. You have my words. But you want to do that? I'm not coming to help you. I'm not coming to save you. I don't want to hear that. Let him bless you and let him come save you, right? And because you wanted to eat unclean, I'm gonna leave. Go ahead, eat it. You don't want to be healthy. You don't want to live forever. You don't want to be strong forever. Go ahead, eat it. And when your body break down and you sit, go ask that fake God that you want to chase. Go ask him to help you. Believe me, these things. This is in the scripture where the Most High says this, right? And he's like, because you wanted that the lust of your own bodies, right? Homosexuality or all the different things. I don't want to get into. I don't want to get too far off track. I'm already behind schedule. He says, wherefore Yahweh also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of Yahweh into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the Creator, who was blessed forever. And this is what happened. This is why we worship in men. This is why we follow men. Right now, you may not believe that you worship young people, or even some of us grown people. We may not believe that we worship our idols, our favorite rappers, our favorite singers, our favorite actors, politicians, whomever it may be. The big homie from the set, the elders in your congregation or your camp, your preacher, your pastor, whomever it may be, man. Listen, if they're not helping you try to follow these law, statutes, and commandments, then they're in error. And that's what we need to do. We need to stay with that. Because other than that, then that person, in a sense, kind of becomes your God, because by their say or by their opinion or how they feel about what's right and what's wrong, then you're going to lean towards that judgment when the Most High said, no, I gave you that already. To love the Most High means to keep his commandments. John 14:15. That his commandments are not grievous. 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. Right? Let's move on. So now let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 3. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 4. Excuse me, verse 1. This is the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. This know also that in the last days, right? We all know that to some degree we're in the last days. Some may feel that we're earlier, some may feel that we're later into it. Don't matter, we're in them. This know also that in the last days, perilous, meaning hard or really stressful, really just difficult, the most difficult of times. In the last days, perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own ourselves. Are we not that? Man, all you gotta do is go to your phone and click on some of your favorite celebrities. You can click on different politicians, click on your friends. Man, it's grown men taking a whole bunch of selfies nowadays. It's grown men showing you pictures of what they eating today, right? Recording so you can see them do repetitions at their workout, giving their opinion on everything that they think. Now, I'm not saying some of that stuff not good or positive. I'm just saying that they're lovers of themselves. Hey, follow me, like this, subscribe to it, right? That's lovers of themselves. Lovers of themselves. Not only that, but also because we put in ourselves how we feel and what we want, what we desire. We just read that, you know what? We just our own lust. Most High said, I'm gonna let y'all have it. Watch how that work out for you. But through our own lust, right? We became lovers of ourselves. We put the Most High we on the back burner. And the crazy thing is we do it and we don't even feel bad about it. We don't even feel like, damn, man, I'm tripping. Man, I'm off track. I got to get back right with the Most High. Man, I'm out here sinning. We don't feel like that. We just do it, right? Because we lovers of ourselves. We pleasers of ourselves, right? For men, this is 2 Timothy 3, verse 2. For men shall be lovers of their own selves. Covetous. They want everything that someone else got, right? Boasters. What you want is everybody, you could be talking to somebody about something. I remember it's a lot of times where we like, hey, say, brother, you know, you one of the children of Israel, you one of God's chosen. We just got to come back to it and keep the commandments. And he'll put us back on top as a nation of kings and priests. Man, y'all broke. When I make this amount of money, I drive this car, y'all do this. And they don't even know what we got. They don't know that it's a lot of businessmen. There are people who own their own businesses, people who have good jobs. They don't know none of that. But they boasting about what they have right now over hearing the word of the Most High is what I'm pointing at, right? Boasters, proud, that goes into the same thing. Blasphemers, a lot of us like to say, I'm God. The black woman is God. You know, what God do for me? You know, I did this for my own, or you know what I'm saying? Or we got people who don't believe in God at all, right? Or we have these religions. These religions are blaspheming the Most High by saying, don't keep his commandments, that God did away with the commandment, that it's sin for you to keep the commandments. Man, that's blasphemy. All right. Let's read on. It says what? Disobedient to parents, going against everything your parent taught you. Twerking for the gram, right? Exploiting and conning your brother, right? Unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce. We know that we fierce against each other. Despisers of those that are good. What's good? Romans chapter 7 tells us that keeping the commandments is good. Deuteronomy, several different places in the book of Deuteronomy, he telling us that the commandment is good. Y'all know me. Y'all know my favorite is Deuteronomy 6:25, where he say the commandment is righteousness for us, right? Watch. Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. We love our own pleasure. Like I said, man, we'll commit sins and not even feel bad about it, man. We love our own self. We love our own pleasures more than we love God, more than we love the Most High. Keeping his commandment is not a priority. It's not even on the spectrum. It's not even on our radar, because we rather please ourselves first. We rather feel good first. We rather feel good in the world than for us to realize, man, the Most High wants us to party once a month with New Moon. It's a party. It's a celebration once a month. That he has holidays in their season. That is, there's several in the spring, several in the fall, a couple in the winter, I think 1 or 2 in the summer. You got holidays. So it's a lot of celebrating. Like I said, every month, with every season, you know. Then Sabbath, it can't, in a lot of ways, it's kind of supposed to be a celebration too. You're supposed to be celebrating and being with the Father and with love, right? But we love our own pleasures more than we love the Most High, more than we love keeping His commandment, more than we love pleasing Him, more than we love, hey, having our pleasures be concerning Him and dealing with Him and connected to Him. Right? Let's go to Isaiah 44, verse 8. Book of Isaiah 44, verse 8. Look what he says. Fear ye not, neither be afraid. Have I not told thee that time and have declared it? Ye are even my witnesses. Is there a God beside me? Remember when we read Exodus 20, one of the first thing we touched. Let's go back to it. Remember, I said put a bookmark there. Stop playing. Exodus 20. And it reads as this. What's the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. So no other gods. No God above him, right? Go back to Isaiah 44, verse 8. Fear ye not, neither be afraid. Have I not told thee from that time? He's talking about Exodus 20, and have declared it. Ye are even my witnesses. So for all you Jehovah's Witnesses out there, he talking to the children of Israel. You can see this in the very first verse. Is there a God beside me? Is there somebody else with me? It ain't no other God. It's him. He said it. Remember Exodus 20. Yea, there is no God. I know not any. Go up to verse 6. Thus saith the Lord, the King of Israel. See who he's talking to. And his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. I am the first, I am the last. And beside me, there is no God. He's not saying besides me. He's saying next to me, on my left or on my right, or right up under. Ain't nobody. It's him. So you should have no other God, right? Look at this. Let's deal with it. Remember, he said that when you're in rebellion, it's the same as you having a graven image, right? Verse 4. Let's go back to Exodus 20, verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee. This is the second commandment of the 10. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. We're not supposed to have no statues and none of that, right? That we're not supposed to bow down and worship them, right? Look, they that make a graven image are all of them vanity, meaning worthless. When something is vain, it's worthless, it's useless, it's pointless, it's not beneficial. And their delectable things shall not profit. And all your religion, all your money, all your education, all your money, it's not going to mean, your politics is not going to mean nothing. It's worthless and shall not profit you. And they are their own witnesses. They see not nor know that they may be ashamed, right? Because we out here, if an athlete is your God, if a rapper is your God, it's a shame that you would worship them, that you would love them and adore them that much. If politicians are your God, man, if they are the sole thing that you believe that you should follow, that you should take their advice, that you should follow their directions and their guidance, but you don't follow directions and guidance of the Most High God, it's going to be a shame. You're going to make them be ashamed. You're going to be ashamed of yourself for following them. It's going to be a laughing stock that you're going to follow, because they don't have any spiritual understanding. They don't know the beginning from the end. They don't have the guidance and direction. They don't keep the things that are righteous and was good according to the Most High God. So they're going to lead you into the things that are, guess what? Contrary to the Most High God. Right? Let's go back. Let's stay in Isaiah. Let's go to chapter 14. Let's go to verse 14. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 14. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 14, verse 14. And it reads as thus. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. See, this is what we're doing. When you say stuff like this, when your mind is in a state that you feel like, man, I'm doing this. I'm above everything or everyone. I'm above those commandments. I'm above His word. I am, because it's those of us who are out. It's people out here in the world who feel and act and move like that, right? Not keeping the first great commandment. You're not loving the Most High with your heart and your mind and your soul, right? Stay in Isaiah, y'all. Stay in Isaiah. Let's go to 55. Isaiah 55. 55, excuse me. Isaiah 55, we're going to go to verse 7. It says, let the wicked forsake his way. So when you feel like that, when you act like that, and you move like that, and you think like that, man, forsake your way. Those of us in this world, even if we don't admit that we feel like that, when we're not keeping his commandments, we're not loving him. We're doing what we want to do, right? What we got to do? Forsake our way. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. We got to forget the wicked thought. What's the wicked thought? I don't got to keep the commandment. What's the wicked thought? That the commandment is grievous, that it's sad, that it's heavy, that it's a lot, that it's a burden, that it's a chore, right? Got to forsake that thought. And let him return unto Yahweh, the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him. That's the only way you're going to get the mercy, is by you returning to the Most High God, returning to his commandments. Not the way I'm telling you, because I'm trying to return to those commandments as well. I'm on that same path with you. But this is how you get mercy, by returning to the Father. How you return to the Father? By coming back and seeking his way, seeking his words, seeking his commandments and his laws, right? Keeping them. It says, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. The Most High God will pardon us for our sins. So let's read on. For my thoughts, the Most High thoughts, are not your thoughts. So we don't think the same. What you think is righteous is not what the Most High says is righteousness. What your politician said is right or good is not the same thing. It hardly ever aligns with what the Most High said is good or righteous. Your favorite entertainer, for sure, it doesn't align with what the Most High says is righteous. The Most High said, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 25, said that the commandment, keeping his laws and his commandment, is righteous. Romans 7 says that the laws and commandments are good. That's what we're supposed to do, right? So his thoughts are not our thoughts. And what? Neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. We already know that what's the Most High's way? Keeping the commandments. We don't want to do that. He had to give us the law and the commandment. A lot of people say, yeah, well, it's already innate in me to not kill or not steal. That's great. What about adultery? You ever think about that? What about putting the Most High above you? Because when you feel like, well, everybody knows that, okay, so that means you're your own self God, because you feel like, well, I already know that, right? So who's going to hold you accountable? What standard do you make be righteous and what's wrong, right? So your ways are not his ways, and your thoughts are not his thoughts. For so as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. So as far as, go look into the sky, it'll never stop going. You're never going to find the ceiling of the sky. And as far as that reaches, the Most High is saying, that's how much higher my ways are than your ways. As heaven is higher than earth. And my thoughts than your thoughts, right? So his ways and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Let's see about these ways. Deuteronomy chapter 10. Y'all know me, man. It's one of my favorites. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12, it says, now, Israel, what does the Lord thy God require? So even those of you who feel like, oh, I'm spiritual Israel, okay? If the church is spiritual Israel, man, all praises. I'm not even going to argue with that right now. But he's saying Israel. So whether you think you're spiritual Israel or whether you're actual flesh and blood Israel, what is required of you is what? But to fear the Most High. Remember, we went into fear. Fear the Most High is what? It's the beginning of wisdom. And you have a good understanding. All they have a good understanding, they keep the commandments, right? So that's fearing the Most High is worried about his judgment, worried about upsetting him, worried about offending him, worried about being accepted or approved by him, right? That's the fear of the Most High. To fear the Lord thy God. To what? To walk in all his ways, right? Look at the very next thing. And to love him. So walking in his ways and fearing him is part of loving him. And to love him. And what? And to serve the Lord thy God with what? All thy heart and with all thy soul. Kind of going back to what we got, what we got from Christ, right? Going back to what we got in Deuteronomy earlier as well, right? and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Well, how do you serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul? Right? How do you love him? How do you walk in his ways? He told you. But he's going to explain it to you in the very next verse in a more simple plane. To keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee. Right? This is simple. It's simple. He's giving it to you simple and plain. Walking his commandments is loving him. Walking in his commandments is keeping his ways. Walking in his commandments shows your fear for him, right? Let's go to Galatians chapter 1. We just our last two. Galatians 1 and verse 10. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to take this long, you guys. This is the book of Galatians chapter 1 and verse 10. For do I now persuade men or God? Do I seek to make men happy? My elders in my congregation, the pastor at the church, the priest at or the minister at the masjid or the mosque, or even at the Catholic church, right? The big homie, the guys at the job, the smart dude that I talk to all the time. Look at the question. Do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? Am I being a man pleaser? No, I should be seeking to please the Father. How do we seek the Father? How do we please the Father? Keeping his commandments. We already touched it several times, right? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet please men, I should not be the servant of Christ. So we have to, that should be easy. If we're seeking to please men, then we can't call ourselves Christian. We can't call ourselves apostles or disciples or followers of Christ. No, we're supposed to say, look to serve or to please God. How do you do that? Remember, we read it. First John 5 and 3, 1 John 2 and 3, and John 14 and 15. Deuteronomy 10, 12 through 14. Right? Let's get Acts 5 and 29. The book of Acts, chapter 5, verse 29. Then Peter is Christ's best friend, right? One of his apostles, one of his chosen, one of the disciples. So if you call yourself an apostle or a disciple, for sure you are aligned with Peter. And what did Peter say? Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men. So remember, when I went to and I pulled out that God just really wants us to be obedient. Keeping his commandment is loving the Father. And that's what it would look like to love the Father. That's what it looks like to keep the first great commandment. When we don't keep the first great commandment, we defile his Sabbath. We love ourselves more than we love God. We love our pleasures more than we love God. We become men pleasers and we want to please these men. We take these men's opinions and their guidance and direction and their standard of right and wrong over the Most High God's. Nah. Acts 5 and 29. We ought to obey God rather than men. That's all I got for today. I pray this plant the seed, till the ground, water the plant, but of course the Most High gives and gets the increase. I give all honor and praise and glory to the Most High God, and I take none for myself. With that, y'all, say shalom. Peace.